So I first saw this tweet about Stolen Valor, and it was calling out Tim Walz from an Alpha News site from years ago, actually. This was back in 2022 when they posted this article, and I have it here. We're going to look at it. And it turns out it goes back even further than that because I guess it's best to just read the story and then we could discuss it. And it fills you in as we go through it. So here it is from Alpha News. Fellow veteran speaks out on Walz's misleading statements about military record. As soon as the shots were fired in Iraq, he turned and ran the other way and hung his hat up and quit. This is Tom Behrens, a retired command sergeant major who replaced Governor Tim Walz on a deployment to Iraq. Here he is here. And there's a video floating around on X of this man, Tom, talking about Tim, and it's pretty damning. On a 150-year-old farm in Brewster, Tom Behrens hopes his tell-it-all like it is style will finally get the attention he believes it deserves in Minnesota's race for governor. Now, this, of course, is back in 2022. So, actually, this was written in 2022. This goes back to 2018 when Tim Walz first was running for governor. That's why he started speaking up. Yeah, you see here it's the 2018 election. The public needs to know how pathetic his leadership was as a National Guardsman, Behrens said about Tim Walz. He's back again to wage a public war of words against Walz. This is what his grain bin looked like in the 2018 election. Walz is a traitor. Vote for Johnson. Shame it didn't work. Minnesota probably would have been in a better place. I'm not joking. Quote, he abandoned us. What the hell kind of leader does that? As soon as the shots were fired in Iraq, he turned and ran the other way and hung up his hat and quit, Behrens said. This all starts years ago when Behrens said Walz's misleading statements about his military service first led him to come forward in the fall of 2018. The story was largely ignored, and Minnesota's largest newspaper, the Star Tribune, checked it out but decided not to publish. According to Behrens, well, what a surprise. He was the chosen by the elite to be the governor of Minnesota, obviously, so he was protected from the mainstream media. When the reporter I called, I thought, what the hell? Is this North Korea? Behrens recalled, or Canada, or America? Let's be real. I mean, this is this guy's wake-up call that America isn't the sovereign, free place that he thought it was. Because if it was, that newspaper would have been like, "Oh, this is huge. Like, we're gonna blow this guy's up, this governor's race up, right?" But no, he was protected, and they're all in on it together, very obviously. Alpha News reached out to the Star Tribune, but didn't receive a response, of course. The backstory: back in early 2005, a warning order went out to southern Minnesota's 1st Battalion, 125th Field Artillery, to mobilize for a mission to Iraq, Behrens said. Walz served as the unit's highest non-commissioned officer after he was conditionally promoted to command sergeant major on April 1st, 2005, records show. On May 16th, Walz retired from the Guard, avoided the deployment, and ran for Congress. It's very obvious. Now, that alone, that like, let's just stop for a second. That's pretty messed up, man. You're leading a unit. You're in the reserves. You're called up. You're like, nope, I'm out. I leave and run for Congress and become protected. So this all gets swept under the rug. You know, it would have continued to stay under the rug had Elon Musk not bought Twitter and turned it into X. We wouldn't have had this information. This wouldn't have made its way out. This man's protected. Kamala Harris is protected. They're all in this group together to take down Trump and end American sovereignty. That's really the end goal. right? Communism. Walz has implied in previous statements that he didn't retire because of the deployment, but the National Guard records show his service obligation wasn't complete until September 2007, 2 years later. So, yes, he absolutely did. He left because he didn't want to go to war. Behrens was next in line for the position and was asked to take his place. And then he said, if I didn't take it, what kind of leader would I be? He probably says it right here. And I was like, for Pete's sake, if this guy quits, and if I say I'm not going to do it, I mean, what kind of a leadership is that? He recalls. If a company would say, we're going to deploy to Iraq, and the foreman says, I'm not going, what does that say to the 500 that work at that factory? Yeah, it says it's not worth fighting for. That it makes them all want to not want to fight either. But if your leader goes, all right, let's do this. We're going out there. I've got you guys. I'm leading. That's a real leader. He's proving that he's not a leader. He's not someone who should be put in charge, let alone governor, or even worse, vice president. Jeez. Commander Sergeant Major Behrens went on to serve in Iraq for a nearly 2-year deployment, all while Walz began using that very title as a congressman. That's right. He was walking around, I'm Command Sergeant Major. That's right. I served in war. Behrens said he contacted Walz with his concern that before raising the issue publicly, sending letters to Washington in 2016. All letters went unanswered. Behrens again tried to draw attention to the story in 2018 when Congressman Walz announced his run for governor. It just kind of sat there, you know? When he was a congressman, he bragged that he was a retired command sergeant major and the highest ranking person ever in the House, Behrens recalled. Then the state of Minnesota came out after 2018, after this was exposed, and they said, well, he can say that he served as a command sergeant major, but he can't say that he's a retired one because he's not. He didn't retire. He quit. He was saying that, and there was campaign letters coming in the mail saying that. They said right on there, he's a retired command sergeant major, just tooting his own horn, hanging on the coattails of people that actually are command sergeant majors that went through all the process and put all the time in, Behrens said. A spokesperson for the Minnesota National Guard previously said Walz wasn't able to retire as a command sergeant major since he failed to complete coursework and other requirements related to the rank. Probably not serving out your full term, which was September 2007, and he quit in the summer of 2005. I think it was August 1st. Documents show the Army corrected Walz's service record. He was reduced in rank to an E8 Master Sergeant after retirement, after he quit. It's stolen valor is what it really is. I don't know of anyone else that's done what he's done before. So they go on to talk about lockdowns and stuff like that and continuing on how bad Walz was. But I have I have a more direct quote. It's a video of Walz himself speaking about being in war, which we just learned he wasn't ever in war. Check it out. Let me just share my audio. Okay.
Hope woke up like many of you did 5 weeks ago and said, Dad, you're the only person I know who's in elected office. You need to stop what's happening with this. I'll take my kick in the butt for the NRA. I spent 25 years in the Army and I hunt. And I gave the money back, and I'll tell you what I have been doing. I've been voting for common sense legislation that protects the Second Amendment, but we can do background checks. We can do CDC research. We can make sure we don't have reciprocal carry among states, and we can make sure that those weapons of war that I carried in war is the only place where those weapons are at.
I think American citizens should have access to any type of gun that is available. I fully believe that. I think all people across the world. An armed society is a polite society. You're not going to have someone carrying around a freaking Gatling gun. It's ridiculous. They're very heavy and insane. But this guy's talking about weapons of war that he carried in war shouldn't be allowed on the streets. Well, first off, Tim, you were never in war. So how can you even say that? You're acting as if you're some big shot, some big wig to listen to, when in reality, you ran away. You told your squadron that you aren't going to fight. They can go off. You're going to go be a senator or a congressman and then run for governor. And then eventually, obviously, the VP pick. He's just the pick right now. Weapons of war, my ass. If governments can have them, the citizens should have them. And of course, they should be trained in them, obviously. I feel like people need to be trained. Look, the problem with guns, it's not the legal gun owners. Okay? Sure, there's exceptions. There's always that one person. Technically, no. Of course, there's exceptions, right? But most gun crime, guess what? They're fucking criminals. Okay? They're not legal gun owners. It's stupid that we're even still having this argument. I'm just shocked. It all goes back to communism and destroying America. They can't have an armed populace. They need to de-arm America so they can fully take America out. That's what they want. They want no more borders, okay? They want a globalist empire with serfs that they control. This is all part of the plan. Walz is very obviously in their pocket. None of these people that I'm seeing that have these stupid anti-constitutional ideas, none of them feel like they're their ideas. Like they're not speaking from their own mind. They're speaking from the talking points of disarming America, taking their rights away under the guise of public safety and blah, blah, blah bullshit. It's a bunch of communist bullshit, if you ask me. And this guy is being touted. Let me just share you a clip from CNN. This is how CNN is portraying it. Check this out.
Walz did make a comment speaking to a group. He's done it a couple of times.
He did make a comment. He said it a couple of times.
Where he has used language that has suggested that he carried weapons in a fighting situation.
No. Weapons of war in war, CNN. Notice they didn't say war. You can't say, don't say war. Say it in a situation. Like, who says that? Listen to this line.
Weapons in a fighting situation.
In a fighting situation. What the hell does that? What is that?
As you know, with your contact with the military, I know from coming from a military family, there is a difference between being in a combat area, being involved at a time of war, and actually being in a position where people are shooting at you.
Okay. All right. Sure. Let's go with that, right? Where was Tim in any of those situations? I'm not talking about after he became governor and Minnesota went downhill and then turned into one of these places. I'm talking about when he was supposedly in war or in these situations. This is such bullshit.
There is no evidence that at any time Governor Walz was in a position of being shot at, and some of his language could easily be seen to suggest that he was.
No. That's not what he's saying at all. He's saying he was at war. Take whatever you want from that. See, now they're trying to make it something different. They're saying, well, you might have assumed he was talking about he was shot at, but he was never in a place that he was going to get shot at. No, because he fucking quit. He never went anywhere close to where he would have even had a chance of being shot because he was scared. All right? Remember, weak men create hard times? Weak man right there. Actually, so is this CNN anchor right here, whatever this dude's name is.
So that is absolutely false when he said that about gun rights out there. Walz.
Fuck CNN. I'm just saying. I gotta say it. I gotta give it up to JD Vance. JD Vance was called weird by this Tim Walz guy. Walz was the guy who called him weird. He was the originator of that. I guess that's what I'm hearing. JD Vance, the guy who is now married, who, no matter what you think about 9/11, whether it was the government or not, he saw that it happened, signed up for the military, and went and fought in Iraq. Actually fought in Iraq. What do you have to say about that, Tim? Huh. Interesting. Well, JD had some words for him.
Been a far left radical. You know what really bothers me about Tim Walz as a Marine who served his country in uniform? When the United States Marine Corps, when the United States of America asked me to go to Iraq to serve my country, I did it. I did what they asked me to do it, and I did it honorably, and I'm very proud of that service. When Tim Walz was asked by his country to go to Iraq, you know what he did? He dropped out of the Army and allowed his unit to go without him, a fact that he's been criticized for aggressively by a lot of the people that he served with. I think it's shameful to prepare your unit to go to Iraq, to make a promise that you're going to follow through, and then to drop out right before you actually have to go. I also think it's dishonest.
100%.
Something, again, if you guys ever get an opportunity to ask Tim Walz or Kamala Harris some questions, he made this interesting comment that the Kamala Harris campaign put out there, and I bet they're regretting they put it out there now, because he said that and he was making a point about gun control.
I played you guys the clip. It was that clip I just played about weapons of war. You know, and it's like, he's doubling down on that, but I love that. It's exactly that. He's calling him out. He actually went and fought. It's stolen valor. Shame on Tim Walz. Shame on him.